Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for Gethsemane 7 at 7 this evening. So glad that you are with me, whether it be tonight or at another time, and from wherever you're joining me. So today was our first Sunday of 2021. I know everybody's rejoicing for the new year. And we started a new sermon series called Vital Signs of a Healthy Believer. And today, Pastor John talked about having vision. And it is absolutely vital to have vision. It even says that in the Bible. If you look at Proverbs 29:18, which is also included in our sermon guide or message guide. But Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So it is absolutely vital to have vision. And a quote that was in, that Pastor John said, and it was in our message guide, says you must have a vision that is clear and unhindered towards God so you can lead others towards Him. Okay, so how do we even get to that place of having a vision? What does that even mean? Well, this morning in our service, one of our singers, his name was Scott, God actually gave him a word, and part of that word was just to turn down the noise. And sometimes we have to turn down the noise, and basically all our distractions, we have to get rid of all our distractions and just sit and have some moments with God, quietly, patiently, and wait on Him. And, God's really been dealing with me lately about having a vision and having a plan, okay? And about writing those things down. So I'm going to share something with you it's not exactly like having a vision, but it's very, it lines right up with it. It's very similar. So God's been dealing with me about things I want to have crazy faith about, and about writing those down. And, I asked God, I got little note cards, okay? And I asked God at the beginning of them, I wrote on the first note card, God, always help me to see the difference between good ideas and your ideas, and help me to activate my faith. And so sometimes we need to do that with crazy faith. Sometimes we need to do that with vision. God, what are some visions that I need to have for my life? And, so that I can carry out your will. And here's a personal example of mine. Part of my crazy faith and the vision for mine and my family's life is the ability to give others hand ups, not just hand outs, but hand ups, whether that be money or a job or a vehicle or whatever it is. We really truly want to be able to do that, and we really believe that that's part of God's vision for our lives. And so I wrote that down on my note card, and I put the date that I wrote it down. That was the start date. And then, I go through these almost every morning so that I can keep the vision in front of me that God has given us, okay? So I go through these almost every morning. And then one day, I asked God to show me, what can I do to start activating my faith for these things, for these visions that you've given me. And so I just go through every morning, look through them, pray, ask God what I can add to it. And about a month later, after I started it, for this one, the ability to give others hand ups, I got that we just need to open a bank account and call it Giving Hand Ups. Because that's activating our faith that we're going to have money to put into that bank account, okay? And I'm not going to share a lot of the rest of mine, but because a lot of them are very, very personal, but that's one that I can share with you. But sometimes we need to take action steps towards the vision that God's given us. It's not just, okay, God's given me this, okay, I'm going to sit back and relax and wait for it to happen. But it's not making a plan so that you can do everything yourself either. It's more about having that relationship with God and asking Him what to do and how to do it every single step of the way. And I also like doing these note cards just because when I start to feel like my faith is waning a little bit, I have these things to go back to because some of these that I've written down have progress made to them. Not just things that God has told me to do, but there are things that God's told me to do. I did it, and then I have seen the benefits of doing that, of doing exactly what God told me to do. And or on days when I mess up and don't do exactly what God told me to do, He reminds me that He can still redeem those times as well. So I just want to encourage you to ask God what visions He has for your life, what things He has for you to do, what He wants your life to look like, and to start writing them down. And it seems like such a simple thing to write those things down, and but it really does make a difference, because it keeps that in front of your eyes. And back to the Proverbs 29:18, where there's no vision, people perish. If you don't keep that in front of your eyes, sometimes we tend to lose that, out of sight, out of mind. And then there's one more thing I wanted to share with you. I do a lot of study about health, and I'm reading a book about health, and there was a quote in there I found very interesting. It said, a discovery, this is made by a Hungarian biochemist, okay? But it says a discovery is said to be an accident meeting a prepared mind. And I thought that was so good, but when I was preparing for my 7 at 7 tonight, I got that God wants to change that. So changing that to being like Jesus is when faith meets a prepared vision. I'll say it again. Being like Jesus is when faith meets a prepared vision. God's already got that vision prepared for you. If you ask Him, He'll reveal that to you, and then you can add your faith to it and be just like Jesus, because that's what we're called to do, is be just like Jesus. So if there's anything, any visions that God has given you, I'd love for you to share them in the comments. I know that some things are very personal, and you don't necessarily want to share everything, and totally get that. But if there's anything you can share, I would love for you to share it. Because, when we're vulnerable with each other and share those sort of things, that helps us grow, and it helps give other people hope, just like God's called us to do. Anyway, I hope this has helped you in some way. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining me.